Hello, hola. How do you say hello?
Oh, half a day. Half a day.
Half a day instead of whole day.
Yeah,
Yeah,
half a day. Yeah.
remember? Half a day. Half a day.
So, welcome, and we are back.
Yeah, it's been a little while.
It's been just a tad.
Yeah, I'm Kevin.
Jerry, and
I'm Lou.
it's our special guest today. We're doing something a little bit different.
We're the Tri-County DVOPS. That's right.
You got to teach me how to do that.
Yeah,
There you
Tri-County.
I got it.
Because we cover 3 counties.
Right.
Yeah, we covered Graham, Greeley, and Cochise County.
Yeah.
One of the few in the state. But welcome, everyone. Like Kevin was saying, it's been a while, about a month, I think.
Yeah.
We've been kind of busy realigning how we do things lately and stuff like that. But kind of little change up. What we're looking to do here in the future is bring on more guests, stuff like that. And again, welcome. Any shout outs?
No.
No? Shout out? You want to say shout out to anybody out there?
I just want to say to all my Chamorro people here and, Arizona or wherever you guys are listening.
Awesome.
And my kids in Guam. My daughters, they're all there, so.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome. So, Kevin, like I said, Kevin and I have been kind of busy lately, doing a lot of other stuff. But last Saturday, we went to a Women's Warrior Expo, kind of our first time doing that as DVOPS. Really interesting. A lot of good stuff going on. All you female veterans out there, if you're interested, we have a Women's Warrior group down here at the Warrior Healing Center. If you want to come check it out, feel free to do so. Just ask for Kevin and I, and we can get you pointed in the right direction. But while we were attending the event, we met this awesome female warrior here from Guam, which was talk for a while.
Yes.
I mean, it was really interesting. Had a blast. But so what we were going to do is let Lou introduce herself. We have some questions and that sort of stuff. And well, floor is yours.
So I moved here from Guam. I medically retired out of the Army due to, getting hurt and getting a autoimmune disease. So life has been pretty challenging. I was in for 14, almost 15 years. So it was kind of hard for me to let go of the warrior mindset and just become, not being a soldier anymore was a very hard transition. And I was going through the medical retirement when COVID first hit. So it took so much longer than expected.
Right.
But I moved out here to be with my husband and, give my kids some exposure to the world besides Guam. And also I came here to get more benefits from the Veterans Affairs because Guam is so tiny. We don't, we only have a CBOC. We do not have a veterans hospital
and that's
or
what
center.
I wanted to kind of talk about a little bit because
Right.
Listening to you, it's a travesty
Mhm.
because you were saying that the percentage of the veteran population on Guam is not a small one.
No.
Because your husband's a veteran, your family is a family of veterans, with the
Yes.
exception of what, your mom?
Right.
So,
Right. So everyone in our family are veterans with the exception of my mom. And
and you, it's a large family.
yes.
So I wanted to kind of make people aware of
Right.
how much of a pain in the butt it is being a veteran on Guam with just having a CBOC there because anything major they have to fly to Hawaii.
Yes.
It's insane.
So if you are a civilian, you would either have to fly to the Philippines because that is where the all the specialists are, and they have the big international hospitals there. And if you're a veteran and you need veterans, like medical assistance, you would have to fly to Tripler.
Wow.
But you can't just fly to Tripler. You have to get a referral from your doctor there at
So,
the VA CBOC.
God forbid, but what if it was a very serious issue? Do they just put you on transport and fly you out, or?
Those are really complicated issues that we're having as veterans in the island, and I would love to learn, so much more about all the benefits that Arizona has to offer, so I can let my island know that there's a lot more, benefits out here.
And what's interesting, because you were medically retired out the
Army
Guam Army National Guard.
yes.
The majority of time was as a active duty soldier in the National Guard.
Mhm.
So, and I think what's kind of a shame is the amount of deployments that your unit did.
Yes.
And you look at the history of those units, and it goes back pretty far.
Right.
As far so I think it's kind of sad. It sounds like pathetic.
Yes.
That you have such a large percentage of veterans there.
Right.
That they just have a CBOC. That's
I
it.
totally agree. A lot of our people are, a lot of them do not want to leave our island because we love our island.
Right.
So they sacrifice their mental health, their medical and their dental, of course, to even though they are entitled to such benefits, they rather would stay on the island, and because of their love for the island, then move off island. Like if I had a choice, I wouldn't have left. However, I have an autoimmune disease. I have so many other issues that I really do need actual specialists. And
Right.
since I've moved to Arizona, I've been really taken care of with the Veteran Center here, especially with the female Veteran Center. So I'm grateful, and and just
Because I think in general, the Southern VA healthcare system, I honestly don't have no complaints.
Yeah.
It's not bad. My grandfather, this was back in the 80s, was up there. It was like,
Right.
oh God.
Right.
They've made change leaps and bounds, and and it's really nice, in my opinion.
Right.
And I know there's going to be people out there that will probably disagree. Really don't care. That's
Right.
my experience.
Well, I don't care either because
I'm taken care of.
The women's clinic in Southern VA, they're very great there.
Yeah.
And they actually schedule appointments rather quickly.
Yeah.
You
Which
just
is
have
nice.
you just have to do your part.
No, and you're right, and I think it's interesting. It's kind of neat hearing everybody's story,
Mm-hmm.
because it's for the most part, like I said, it's just really cool to know that you come here, you set up shop, your husband's working, blah blah
Mhm.
blah. You check into the VA hospital and stuff, and next thing you know, you're being seen. Boom, boom, boom.
Right.
It's the way it should be.
Yes.
It really should.
Yes.
And so it's kind of cool.
Right.
But I would say, if
on Guam, for example, if I were to have gone and seen the VA there, my VA exams took me, about, I want to say, a year.
wow,
Yes, just to get exams.
Wow.
Here in Arizona, it took me less than 2 months.
wow. So I would say that people need to start calling the representatives to start making changes,
Yes,
because
I
that's
totally
a travesty.
Agree. It
that
is.
And this, I think, what upsets me. And I love hearing "Thank you for your service."
Yes.
If you want to really thank me for your service, why don't you get on the phone, start sending emails. You're doing more by doing that. That's how you really help veterans,
Right.
because there is no excuse, none whatsoever, for that veteran to have to wait a year for just a simple appointment.
You're right. And so our naval hospital on the island cater to the active duty component,
Right.
and then the National Guard, and then after the National Guard will be the veterans. So we are the most patriotic territory, per capita. So like you said, everybody and their mama's in the
It's in the military.
in the military,
We're
right?
supporting the military.
And yeah, so even with me, like we're all veterans, and then my daughter just joined the Air Guard.
Oh, nice.
My oldest daughter, and then her husband, which is my son-in-law, he's in the Air Guard as well.
Nice.
Smart.
Yes.
Whatever. Whatever. No.
And so it's a joint forces big, so it's
Joint.
both of us.
Uh,
Yeah.
So, what made you go into the Army?
The funniest story, you're gonna like this one. Well, kind of maybe.
I could go in the Air Force.
No, I actually took my ASVAB and I went to MEPS and everything with the Air Force.
mhm.
And the Air Guard was so heavily populated that they didn't have anything for me. And I was already in my 20s at the time, late 20s. So I said, if I don't do it now, I'm never going to do it.
Mhm.
So I decided I'm not going to wait a whole year. So there was the Army Guard, like right next to the Air Guard. So
Got it from the career counselor, goes to another one.
yes, so I already took everything. I took my, my ASMAB, my tests, everything, my medical, and so I just went there. They swore me in, and I left like a month later. So,
I would have waited a year.
so I don't know, because everything that I've done in the Army, I truly have met my best friends,
Mhm.
great mentors. I've learned a lot as a soldier and as a person, and I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Nice. So, where did you do your basic and AIT at?
Relaxing, Jackson. That wasn't
So
relaxing.
you flew from Guam to South Carolina.
And it was crazy, right? Because I
Oh
went
my God.
in the heat of the summer. So I didn't know anything about South Calaki's freaking heat, right? So August 1st, I started it. So August 1st was my first day of reception. And, oh my goodness, it was hotter than heck.
I just can only imagine you're flying halfway across the world just to
Yeah,
go to training.
and then for AIT, I was in the midst of the winter there, so I was freezing, my butt off.
Probably couldn't wait to get back. You probably land in Guam and kiss the ground.
Oh man, I was just so happy. I was so happy to be home, and just it was such a major event in my life, and which is funny because first time I've been to on Saturday, I went to Fort Huachuca, right? Is that how you say it?
Huachuca, yeah,
What?
it's like a
You're
sneeze.
close. You're close.
Huachuca, right?
Huachuca.
However, I better get it right. But Tuesday when I came down to see you guys, so I went over there and I just got completely shocked by the drill sergeant hat, and I just was like, what? I thought they took that. I'm so confused.
They brought it back.
They brought it back.
so I
That's a funny
found
story.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah, they brought him back.
That
which
out.
is
I was
awesome.
like, oh wow.
Yeah.
So that like in between those years, those people that went to AIT did not deal with the. What'd you say, Private? What did you say?
I hated
Remember that?
Oh my God, I hated that. It's like, do that one
Jesus.
more time.
You just want to like take it and cut that thing up.
Throw it away.
Yeah. Run after it, stomp on it.
Oh, not the round brown. Oh, you can't do that.
Yeah. So when I saw it, and I went to the clothing store, the military clothing store, to purchase something for my husband, and at first, I was like, I think I'm going the wrong way. Why are there soldiers all over the dang place? Is this only for like soldiers?
I think it's kind of funny. I go to the commissary and you're getting old because back in the day you wouldn't be caught dead as a trainee
Anywhere
except a brigade shop.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then it was a pass.
You're right. You're right.
Like, for grocery
without,
shopping.
without a battle buddy at that, oh my gosh.
You
don't even know.
It's funny. It really is how
And
how
then when you
times
look
have
at them,
changed.
right? When you look at them, you're just like, geez, that used to be me.
I know.
Long
When I was
ago.
130 pounds.
When Jesus was a private.
Yeah.
Like I told my dad.
Or an airman. So, because it was kind of, like I said, we talked about this the other day, and, I thought it was kind of interesting. So, your husband, active duty.
He was active duty, then,
Infantry?
yes, infantry, 11 bang bang.
Yeah, I love the infantry.
Yeah, he always
God
got to
bless
say
them.
that. Yes.
So I think it's, it's just really interesting because you spent all this time in the Army.
Mhm.
You're medically retired, and now you've relocated halfway across the world again
Right.
to, so what do you miss about the Army?
To be completely honest with you, I miss my soldiers.
Nice. They're your knucklehead. They're knuckleheads,
Yes,
but
but
you're
at the same
knuckleheads.
time, I miss my unit that I was in the 105th Troop Command headquarters.
Nice.
Yes. And they still are a family to me,
Yeah.
but we just had like very close knit, and we had each other's back. So we didn't even need to say, okay, can you do this? Because it was already like an unspoken rule where
Yeah.
like, okay, let's go. Ready,
And you were in an infantry brigade or battalion?
It was a battalion.
A battalion, okay.
Mhm.
Because I admit.
It wasn't the infantry though. So the infantry was the 194th.
Okay.
1294th, I'm sorry, infantry battalion. So we were like the support for the battalion.
And what's kind of
which was
funny.
the combat engineers, and
It-
medical and
And what's kind of funny, you mentioned this the other day because, I did 5 years in mechanized infantry, then I was in
aviation.
armor and all this other crap. But it's just kind of funny. You have to do what they do, and it's like, whoa! I'm a
Yes.
truck driver. I'm human.
Yes.
No, get the rucksack.
Yes.
Let's roll.
Yes.
and it's
The
just-
funniest story I'll tell you. In our language, our Chamorro language, it's that's the indigenous people, right? I say Chamorro from Guam. So one day my sergeant was like, Sergeant Segovia, I need you to be the TC, right? Okay, so here I am, right? Everybody thinks I'm the pencil pusher because I'm the 42 Alpha, right? So they're like, okay, now you got to get out there and do the TC. And, and I'm like, TC?
What the hell is
I
he
haven't done
talking
that
about?
in so long since WLC. I'm like, can you, I'll be back.
Give me 5-minute break.
I'll be 5-minute break. I need to, brush up on my skills. So,
Dig into your duffel bag.
So since that day, he called me Ticinia. So Ticinia means TC, right? But Ticinia in our language means can't do. So the TC, Ticinia. So the TC
That's
cannot
awesome.
do it. So
That's funny.
after that, they made me the company driver for the commander, for the
Is that your call
XL.
sign after that?
Yes. That was like, Ticinia, are you there? Yeah.
Sometimes it's
Roger.
brutal when you get assigned a call sign.
Yes.
Because I know when we ran convoys,
And the unit counselor, that was me.
when you would, for your vehicle, you weren't allowed to pick your call sign. Your section picked it for you. And sometimes it's like, are you kidding me? Really? You guys went for the throat.
Yes, but I really miss them.
Yeah.
I really do. My soldiers, like everybody in that, in that unit was just so family oriented. Even with the Guam National Guard, Army and Air, we were such a big family. We did everything as a family. So, for me to see that I can get all these wonderful benefits and I'm so blessed to have them, I really, really, it's near and dear to my heart because I know there's a lot of soldiers and airmen out there that are suffering
No, you're
mentally,
right.
especially mentally because we have a behavioral health, but that's just a very small one for the island. And that, and then when you have a behavioral health issue on the island, you'd have to go through Navy the Navy behavioral health clinic. However, you're gonna have to wait for an appointment, and then if you really need to be institutionalized, they either have to send you to Tripler, or
Wow.
they might have to send you outside. But outside is already exhausted in capacity
Mm-hmm.
because it's such a small island. I mean, it's such a small place for the island.
And I think what's kind of a
And it's
shame
so
too.
sad.
It is. But COVID hasn't helped anything at all.
Right.
So if you have these veterans that suffer, that have behavioral health or
Right.
issues, they say they self isolated or
Right.
whatever.
Even with the National Guard, they can't.
I think for me, because I did my time, I was in the Army Guard for a couple of years, to active duty for a long time, finished up in the reserves, and retired. And I think what's interesting, I was watching this the other day. The Guard and Reserve have the highest PTSD, depression, that more so than our active component. And part of the
Yes.
issue is that as National Guard, Army Reserve, in my two mobilizations, I did two different DMOBs 10 months apart.
Mm-hmm.
So the first one sucked. It just sucked. The second one at Fort Dix, they tried.
Mm-hmm.
They meant well. However, what they were doing was, instead of doing a down and dirty getting you home, they kept you. And so you had this like a week break, and you would do so many things one day, have a day off.
Right.
And that was torture because you knew it's like, man, I just want to go home.
Mm-hmm.
I'm done. I want to go home. So with the Guard and Reserve, the transitioning off of a mobilization sucks.
Mm-hmm.
It really does. I'm sorry.
You're right.
But you have these warriors who are coming off of a mobilization, Iraq, Afghanistan, wherever.
Right.
And there's no and if they get into, say, they answer a question on the questionnaire, the paperwork you're filling out when you're doing your medical, now you're going to go into, back in the the Warrior Transition Unit.
Right, WT.
And you're just stuck there. And so, in some ways, it was just easier to say, you know what, there's nothing wrong with me. I'll deal with it with the VA when I get home.
Right.
But not doing your homework, say Guam is an example. Now you get home, it's like, oh, crap.
Right.
Oh, I should have, So it's just
and a lot
really
of soldiers
interesting.
don't want to do that. They don't
No.
want to stay back.
They want to
go home and
They
see
wanna
their
go home.
families.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah, so it's really interesting,
Mm-hmm.
and I was watching,
And
that,
the
I'm
stigmatism too, right? For staying back.
how many, and so what I thought was funny, my experience is I come off of my first mobilization. I'm sitting in my office, and I'm sitting there one day. I'm like, holy crap, I just ran my last convoy 2 weeks ago. Now I'm sitting in my office. And you're right, because you have people who ask you those stupid questions.
Right.
You ever kill somebody? Or, and it's like, whoa.
Right.
You're right. So there are stigmas,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just really, it's interesting. And to me, I thought it was harder transitioning off of mobilization transitioning off active duty was difficult, but off of mobilization is difficult. To me, it was.
Right. So with us, when we mob and demob, we pick up, leave the island like we're deploying, but we're not really deploying yet. So we go to another base on the mainland. Then you have to acclimate to that for 1 month and go through all your mobilizations. And then you go in country.
Yeah.
Then when you come back, you do the same thing. And it's like, by the time you get home, you're just like, beside yourself.
And in some, depends on where you do your mobilization at, they want to treat you like you're in basic.
Right. Yes.
And it's like, whoa. Hold on here, guys. Slow your roll.
Well, they're still doing that.
Yeah.
My son-in-law, he just demobbed, but when he mobbed, he went to an army base in New Mexico. was it New Mexico? I can't recall, but he was saying that they were treating him like so the Army was in charge of the Air Force. Can you imagine what they did to them?
Poor,
I was like,
poor guys.
now you know. Now you know.
That just sounds
Son.
horrible.
Well, I mean, from your experience, you're
So-
a senior NCO in the
So
Air
the
Force.
air, yeah.
And
Had
now
to
you're
follow
working
all
with
the Army.
Army, and they're like, "Hey, Sergeant, need you to do blah blah." Whoa, hold on here.
Yeah.
I outrank you. First
no.
off,
Right.
second, don't talk to me that way. But it's weird. It really is.
Right.
It's
true.
in my thing with reserves. It's like you show up, and they're like, "What are we supposed to do with you?" Well, I'm here to do a job. First
You're
off,
right. You're right.
So
Right.
let's get this done and over with.
Right.
But so you did what? So let me ask this. So with how hard was it, if you don't mind me asking, doing your transition from soldier to where you're at now? Because now you're raising a family, you're doing this. And,
So COVID was a very big part of my transition, right? Because of my autoimmune disease and my immune compromise situation, my doctor made me start teleworking as soon as COVID hit. So I didn't even really get a chance to transition out like a normal soldier would. I wasn't able to go back and get my things, and
Wow.
and that was only because we work in the finance department, and it was always very busy, right? And so people always had to be in there. So it was kind of hard to get my things while everyone was in. And also, I never drilled with my unit again. So it was kind of like after December 2019, things just like, sorry, it's like you totally just got cut off as a
Yeah.
soldier.
Deuces beat
Totally
it.
got cut off as a federal employee.
Wow.
And I was still working at home, teleworking. However, I wasn't having that human interaction as a soldier, but I was still doing soldier work during drill because I had to virtually drill. So I was still on the computer,
That
right?
kills me.
With the VPN, right? So I was still doing my work every day. However, I wasn't interacting with my soldiers, with the soldiers that I loved so much and cared for. And, I heard a story yesterday from my daughter because one of her husband's friends is a former soldier of mine. And he was just like, your mom was so cool. She really took care of us. She was lecturing all the younger soldiers that didn't put their babies on, like, how could you not know to put your child on? And he's 3 years old, on your deer is like, what's wrong with you? Things like that, right? So, and I was always down to do whatever the guys were doing. So, I was just part of them. And that's what I really missed the most, the camaraderie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think because my oldest is active duty and my youngest is active duty and my middle was reserves, which was really weird drilling with your kid or being in the same. That just really caught me off guard.
That's why I'm kind of happy I'm out because I don't know how I would deal with my daughter and my
I did
son-in-law.
handle it well, but yeah, because it's hard to turn dad instinct off because that's your kid.
Yes.
And so my son was a specialist, and he'd be standing off. I'd be with my NCOs, my friends and stuff, and he'd be standing over there. And one of my guys like, Jerry, dude, little baby Curriers over there. And I'm like, yeah, but he's like, you know what? Just call him over. It's like, but we're NCOs. Come on. He's like, it's baby Currier. Come on, dude. But it was just kind of funny. But oh shoot, I thought I turned this off. I'm so sorry. But yeah, it's weird. But it's just my son, my youngest, was asking me. He's like, Dad, do you miss being in the military? I said yes and no. Mm-hmm. I was like, very proud of everything I did. I was an 88 Mike, and but at the same time, because like being DVOPS, we interact with each other, and it gets pretty brutal, and it does bring you back to being with your section,
Right.
the battering, back and forth and
Right.
stuff like that.
But it was all fun and games
It
all
was.
the time.
My
Yeah.
daughter was in our office one time, and on the way home, she's like, "Oh my God, you guys are mean to each other." No, we're
But
not.
we don't even take it personally.
Yeah.
Either.
But I said,
Like you said, you're with, right, Kev? You're with
Yeah.
your brothers, your
Yeah,
sisters.
That's it.
Yeah.
you're with your bros or broettes. It's
Right,
kind of
right.
cool. But there are things that it's like, oh, I don't think I'd want to do that again. But but you look at what you accomplish in the military, and we were talking about this the other day, especially when you get to the point where, say, you retire or whatever, and you look back, and it's like, oh, this was not easy to get to this place.
You're
Yeah.
right.
It's a lot of hard work, and
Yes.
it's long hours and
Yes.
sacrifices.
Yes.
Mhm.
What my takeaway from that whole thing was what I brought into my family. Like the stress, like the, treating them as soldiers and now my goal is to heal my family of what, they've been through.
We had she's a friend of ours, and it was kind of funny, but afterwards we were talking, and I never gave it much thought what my kids went through,
Right.
because later on, years later now,
Now they're speaking up.
yeah,
Yes.
and sometimes it could be brutal.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have 3 adult daughters, and it is super
It can get
brutal.
brutal.
Yes,
Man,
super
you're
brutal.
lucky I love you.
Yeah,
But,
right.
you know,
You're
they-
lucky.
Yeah.
I'm getting therapy.
Yeah, I'm on my meds today.
Yeah.
So, but my son was like, "Dad, you were never home." I said, "I know. I was in the army."
Right.
And he's like, "Well, I thought you didn't love us. You were
Mhm.
always gone." And I'm like, I had a job to do.
Right.
When you look at your kids, they at 5 or 6, they don't understand. Oh, mom or dad has a job to do.
You're
They'll
right.
be back in 6 months or a year, 15, whatever.
18 months,
Yeah.
right?
And
Back then.
yeah, and what's interesting with Guard Reserve, because I was talking to my Linda about this the other day, my second mobilization, and a lot of people don't take this into consideration with Guard and Reserve. You have pre-mobilization training.
Right.
Well, you may have an AT prior,
Right.
then pre-mob.
Right. They
then-
stack it. So
yeah,
the National
then-
Guard and the Reserve, they try to stack
Yeah.
everything into.
And then you do your deployment,
right.
demob. It could
And then
be
you
well
have
over a
annual
year.
training
Yeah.
again
Then it could
for
be,
the next
yeah.
fiscal year.
Then it could be well over a year. You're gone.
You're right.
And so people don't think they're all Guard Reserve. It's pain in the butt,
You're right.
because I think
Especially
it's
if you work there Monday through Friday
Yeah.
and then you drill as a traditional soldier, it really takes a toll out of you.
it does, and it's interesting
Because you never have a break technically because you're 7 days a week straight.
Well,
You're
you're
there.
right. You bring up something kind of interesting, is that now you're trying to heal your family,
Right.
because you don't realize, oh shit, they're broken.
Right.
They're as broken as you are.
Right.
Mhm.
And now they're adults and I don't want them to bring that until they're children.
Yeah. Well, no, and you're right. So it's
Into
interesting.
my grandchildren.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's just really interesting. And I was, and I was talking to my oldest about this, is that,
But it took me to step out of that life, like out of that military life, retire out, and then become a civilian again, to realize just what was going on in that family, in our family, how we were just so, everything was so structured. Everything was, okay, I have PT in the morning. This is what we need to do. I'm leaving at 4. I'll be back at 5 by 6:30. Everybody better be up, ready, showered, fed. Because
Stand to.
7 we're out. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I need to be sitting on my desk by 8.
Mhm.
yeah, and it's interesting. It really is,
At
because
one point, I had 5 kids to get to school by myself.
yeah, God bless Linda. I don't see how
Yeah.
she did it. I really don't. And
It was hard as a female soldier to do that.
I mean, and
I know your wife was hard
But-
for her.
but at the same time, your unit doesn't care. Hey, Sergeant, you
Nope.
better be here.
Yep.
We have first call.
You're right.
Well, I gotta get. I don't
You're
care.
right.
You better be
You're
here.
right. Just drop.
Just
And you're like, right next to the form, just drop.
just wait right there. You're in a holding
Oh
pattern.
my gosh.
But-
We had like a system, my
Yeah.
friends and I. So a lot of the soldiers that were with me, my NCOs, some of them were like, they would go out they'd ask me, can you wake me up? They would sleep in their car, wake me up. Can you wake me up? And so we would all like cover for each other all the time and do stuff like that. It was just like brother, sister, like, hey, wake up. You're going to be late. And I'm not going to, if I have to drop for you, boy, you are in trouble. I'm
We'll
never
talk
waking
later.
you up again.
Yeah, I will let you sleep.
Yep.
No, but it is interesting because, like you're saying, for me, the older I've gotten, I realize, sometimes it's kind of funny in a way, but Linda and I'll be sitting there talking, and it always like, remember when back in, when you deployed here, or whenever your mom would show up, you would volunteer to go to the field, or, so,
Right.
So, and I get to hear that now. I always knew you did that. It was just really weird. Your mom would show up, you'd go to the field for 2 weeks, but you sit there and you look back and it's like, oh
you
wow.
didn't even realize.
No, you don't.
At the time, because your mind is just so focused on the mission.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that like everything is just
it's
status quo. You just gotta keep moving forward, right?
Yeah.
And whatever kinks, we'll deal with it later. It was always we'll deal with it later.
Yeah. It's kind of interesting because we've went through a lot of changes as an organization,
Right.
and I think the hardest thing I've had to adjust to is that being an NCO, we're very critical. We're very critical thinkers. We're
Yes.
very mission oriented,
Yes.
and sometimes you'll be sitting in a meeting and you're like, be told, okay, let's do this, and it's like, all right, cool, but it's frustrating because it's like, man, they need to hurry up. Come on, time check.
Always time check.
Yeah, but and that's frustrating because it's like you can't be that way anymore.
Or when we're doing the online training and the instructor says, okay, is it okay with everybody if we wait an extra 5 minutes to let the stragglers in? And we go, no.
Right.
What are you talking
What do you
about?
mean?
These stragglers.
You said
They're late.
900. They're late.
They're
Start
late.
now.
late.
If they weren't here 15 minutes ago, they're ready. Like,
Yeah.
But that's it's weird, and that was, I think, it's those little
and
things.
the civilians, right, at the time when we were civilians, it wasn't anything to them to be 5 minutes behind.
Yeah, or 15.
Or 15. Yeah.
Yeah.
But to us, that ruined our whole day.
That's it.
That's it.
I'm going to hear about this all day.
Yeah.
It'll be
Especially when it was
tomorrow's.
one of your soldiers.
Wait until at the command. I mean, it'll be this way at the key leaders brief. Oh my God, it's going to be a thing all day, and that'll be held against you. For,
Right.
Well, Currier was 15 minutes late
Right.
6 months ago, so he can't go to PLDC. It's like what? So it's just how.
Now that we look back and we laugh, right? But
Yeah.
at the time we hated it.
Yeah.
We hated life. Yeah.
It's like, oh, but yeah, it's funny. You do miss the mission. You do miss kind of badass stuff you do.
Right.
And as a civilian,
But you don't miss the grind like that.
Yeah.
Just
and
constant
I did
pressure.
exactly the
Every
adrenaline
single
rush.
minute.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting. I love the opening scene in Apocalypse Now, where he's laid in bed, and it's like, when I was here, I wanted to be there. When I was there, I wanted to be here. So you're in this constant. It's like, what is wrong with me? You want to deploy, and then as soon as you deploy, it's like, I want to go home. I don't want to play in the sandbox no more. I'm done. But then you get home, and it's like, man, I want to get back.
Right.
It's just weird.
Right.
It really is, and that's my thing. Exiting the military, that's been very challenging, because it's like, what are you going to do this weekend? I have no idea.
Right. Because you know that every, like for reservists, right, or National Guard soldiers, you know that we're dreading the first month of the year. I mean the first weekend of the month, because we already know. Oh God.
It did. You show up for battle assembly. You do your muster. You stand there, and it's like, man, now I gotta act like Steph's on Currier. Okay, all's good. And then by Sunday, it takes a week to decompress, and it's like you show up for work, and it's like,
yep,
I'm gonna choke Kevin.
Yep. Imagine doing that and then returning back to the same place where you don't want to be.
So it's funny.
It's
it really
hard.
is. It really is. And then,
You're just going to a different building. That was me.
Yeah. But it's funny, and I think I get a kick out of, because it's like Kevin, retired from the Air Force for 20 years. He had a very structured environment. Mm-hmm. Retired as senior NCO, and your transition, because we first met when you were in process of retiring.
Yeah.
And which was funny. We gave him a really hard time. But
it's okay. My brother's the same. We're all Army, and smack in the middle is the Air Force guy. So
but your last assignment was kind of a tough one, right?
It was Davis. Yeah, Davis Mountain. But
working
I had
with your PJs.
Yeah, my PJs. But I had young airmen that were.
What year was that?
2013.
Ah.
But my section, it was nothing but infighting, and it was honestly it was lack of training, more so than anything else. But I was kind of hoping that my last year and a half,
real young, right?
Yeah, I was hoping my last year and a half to honestly just kind of
skate out,
and then half the squadron deployed because they're pararescue, and then I had one lose security clearance.
Wow.
So I was the only one
that could do
security
stuff.
Clearance. Yeah, so
on the computer.
Here I was trying to process out, right?
And they need your credentials.
Yeah.
Because I was kind of talking about it with Kevin, and I think it's interesting. Soldier my whole life, my whole time, and I never gave it a lot of thought on the different branches.
Right.
And, serving all three components of the Army, business as usual. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting listening and talking because it's like, okay, it's like, oh, I never thought about that. Or, I ran convoys. That's what I did. And it's just kind of cool now being able to listen to everybody talk.
Right, what they did. And
because a lot of mine, deploying downrange, stuff like that. And it was, at first, for a while, I did have a difficult time talking to veterans who never deployed. Yeah. And so you were kind of critical, and that was wrong. Right. And then it's like, oh, okay, I understand now. Mm-hmm. And I feel, looking at it, combat, high-stress environments, there's not really much of a huge difference when you look at it.
You're right.
Because working, listening to some of Kevin's stories, like, holy crap, I don't know if I could have put up with that. Mm-hmm. When you work with a unit, it's mainly officers primarily, and you're an NCO, and
and they depend on you for everything.
Real-world missions for the units he served in. Every day's real world.
Right.
And it's just like, wow, I never, it's kind of
And if you don't get it done, oh, Lord.
Yeah. So it's interesting. And, the different complexities and all the moving pieces. But at the end of the day, it all comes together to support the warfighter. Right. That little soldier on the ground that needs help.
Right.
So it's kind of interesting looking back at it. My son teases me, my oldest, he doesn't really have a lot of respect for the Guard Reserve. And I was like, it's kind of unfair because it is different.
Right.
Because we don't have the funding stream Big Army has or whatever.
You're right. And then we get all the old equipment that the active Army is done with. Yeah. So we get
the crap.
The crap.
Yeah, the crap. Literally, it's crap.
Yeah, you're right.
Or my favorite is...
like the green Humvees and all that stuff we get.
the canvas tops, and you got to simulate a gun truck. But my favorite was going to the range when there's a small group of us that have deployed, and we're the only one with ACHs.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, hey, Sergeant, do you guys mind rotating your ACHs throughout the rest of the company or battalion? No. No.
That's gross.
Yeah, it's gross. I'm not wearing that, somebody else's bedhead. No. But it shows the lack of preparedness, readiness, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, so it's interesting, but yeah. But, going to start wrapping it up here in a second. But, it's really, it's awesome having you on today. It really is.
I wanted to let you know something. That Guam had our very first adjutant general is a female. Female adjutant general now. She's currently running the Guam Army and Air National Guard.
Nice.
Yes.
And you're seeing
General Agigi, her name Esther.
So let me ask you this.
And she was my commander that I worked under when I first started.
A lot has changed in over 30, 40 years. And,
we've had sergeant majors that are females, everything.
And do you think there's still a lot more changes that need to be done? Or do you think we're going in the right direction with these changes?
Could you elaborate on
the wars, I deployed to the Gulf War. Yeah, you had women in the Army, in the military, but it was weird. It was now with Iraq and Afghanistan, everything changed.
Oh, with females being able to go into combat
active,
and everything.
Like running convoys,
right.
MPs.
For me as a female, I know that being in the Army as a female, that we were always expected to be like the males.
Right.
So I agree with them being in combat, especially because some females are way badass compared to other guys,
yes.
right? So I'm just saying, some guys are scared to jump out of the plane, and other females will just go, woo, gung ho, So I think in equality, being equal, I think that we're doing pretty well now, as opposed to how it was back then. Yeah. But there's still some things that females can't do that men can do, I can't even think of anything.
It's just kind of interesting because
I'm just being biased, but
I had a discussion with a individual a while back, combat arms,
right?
And we were talking about this, and he kind of made a comment, and I was like, when I deployed in 0809, my convoy, because I started off as an assistant convoy commander, we had female soldiers, and it was,
as long as you trust your
they
brothers.
Were awesome. They were amazing.
Then you know what? Nothing really matters. If they got your 6,
that's
then
all
you know what? You have their 6, then that's all that matters.
And I remember asking, it was like, why are we making this an issue? Mm-hmm. They're soldiers,
right?
And even with, I don't care, male, female, it doesn't really. If you can't do a job, you're gone.
Right.
That's how I look at it. And, it was just kind of interesting because, my lead head, she was a nurse. And then I had my other, the makeup was kind of interesting because we had nurses, we had architects, and it was just really interesting how it all kind of meshed. But like I was telling him, it's about readiness. It's about being able to do the mission. So why are we even debating this?
Right.
And we have came leaps and bounds. My mom was in the Women Army Corps.
Wow, that's awesome.
She came to Fort Stewart one time, and she was in shock.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, this is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And just listening to her stories, being a female in the military back in the 60s, I'm like, oh my God.
Right.
I was like, holy hell, that's no bueno.
Right.
But yeah, I think the military, it's really interesting the direction the military is going because so much is changing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for the better, I really do, from what my I've been retired for a while, but listening to what my sons are saying, it's like, holy crap, this is kind of awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, just want to say thank you for coming on today. You're awesome.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you both for having me.
No problem. It was a joy.
Yeah. It's just kind of neat because we were, like we were saying, we were wanting to kind of go in a different direction a little bit, bring on more people.
Right.
But it's kind of neat having you on today because, you know, you bring a different take. One, you know, Guam, you know, the Army National Guard out of Guam.
Guam Army National Guard. Yeah. That's who we are. That's who I was.
The complexities of being a veteran there.
Yes. And getting the services that your family and yourself need is just very, you know, like you said, it's a travesty. And
it shouldn't be that way.
Right. And I know a lot of people need the help, and it's just so hard for them to get the help.
Yeah. And the only thing
it's very sad.
Yeah, it is. And the only thing I would add, if anybody's out there today, and start making phone calls, start saying things have to change.
Yes.
You know, because
that was mainly one of the reasons why I accepted to come on to the show, is because I want everyone to be aware of, you know, our island, our beautiful, patriotic people, you know, on our island that serve just as much as everyone else in the military out there. We're all over the place, you know, active duty, more. National Guard. Yes, if not more. And we're very patriotic, and we'll die for our country any day.
You know, because, you know, so I would think, you know, as a dad, say growing up in a little island like that, you serve, you do this, and then you know, your kids come up to you and say, hey, you know, Dad, I want to join the Army. And it's like, why would you want to do that?
Right.
However, it's the opposite.
Yes, it is the opposite on our
Patriotism.
island. And also, our culture, we are based a lot on respect, and especially respect for elders, right? Mm-hmm. So if they see the, you know, you as this this soldier that's just so, you know, well structured, you know, you have your life together, of course that's what they're going to want to follow.
Yeah.
Your parents, right?
Exactly.
Or your grandparents, or your uncle, or your, you know, your sister, or whoever. You
said your dad served in Korea or Vietnam?
Yes, Korea.
Wow. Yeah. That's awesome.
Yeah.
From Guam, and you're in Korea in the winter, that had to have been miserable.
Oh, yes, definitely. Yeah. And he was like us. He was in the unit. He was the unit NCO.
Wow, that's awesome. That is so cool.
Yeah, so he's told me so many stories, and I would laugh. I was like, wow, those are real true?
Maybe
those are true?
If your dad would want me, because they live locally, don't they?
Yes, they live in Tucson. So it's a funny story. My brother was stationed in Davis Monthan, and he was always saying, you know, Arizona's so pretty, blah, blah, blah. And so we all started coming over this way, my mom and dad, and then we found out that with my rheumatoid arthritis, that it was really good for me to be in a dry area. So my husband applied here, and then, you know, that's how we ended up here.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's
but
awesome.
We were meant to end up here because I met both of you.
Kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
Yes.
So that's going to be it for this week. Thank you for coming on, Lou.
You're welcome.
It's been awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, like I said, again, thank you. It's been a pleasure. It really has. Yeah, if anybody's out there, if you're interested, come on down to the Warrior Healing Center. If you're a veteran looking for work or just want a resume, or if you're starting a job or in need of tools, clothes, come on down, because we have our veteran toolkit where we could purchase items for you through no cost to you. Mm-hmm. Anything, Kevin?
I think that's a wonderful program too, just so you know, you two.
It is.
I mean, I didn't know about all this until Saturday, everyone, you know, like
it was dumped on
you. Me and my little island, you know, brain here, didn't know that there were so many benefits for veterans out there. So, and I'm sure a lot of people don't know. So,
and this isn't all of it. This is just a small, little, minute. What Kevin and I do is just we found out other stuff the other day, and it's like, what? Right. You know, so.
And I think it's awesome, you know, and that's why I would love to pick, you know, you's brain so I could tell my friends and family.
The smart one.
Yeah, whatever.
Down here.
He's the smart one.
Oh, because he's the Air Force.
I get reminded. I was just a truck driver now. But we want to thank you again. And if you, like I said, if you guys have questions, give us a call. Our phone number is 520-458-9309. Ask for Kevin or Jerry, and we'll see you next week.
Yep.
Adios. Half a day, guys. Half a day.
I know, right?
And broadcast.